Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we start, I would like to draw your attention to my weekly email newsletter, Friday Focus. Each Friday, I focus on one topic with one action arising. The link to sign up is in the show notes, or head over to amyrowlandson.com and sign up right now. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by Mia Von Loga. Welcome, Mia, all the way from Mexico.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. All the way from here.
Well, I can see the sea in the background and it looks just gorgeous. And I'm getting very, very jealous actually looking at your fabulous view out the window.
Well, you're always welcome. You're always welcome to come and stay and see the Pacific for yourself.
Yeah. Tell me, why Mexico?
Oh, good question. And it starts with a why. Nice. All right. Okay. I tried to do this briefly because I tend to absolutely love this story behind it and overwhelm people with it. So, in a nutshell, 10 years ago, that was the first time when I set my foot on Mexican ground. And I had all the issues of people in my backpack of like, oh, it's so dangerous. Where are you going there? Da, da, da. And I was like, I don't want to have your stuff. Let me just explore my own journey. Like, that's a metaphor for itself. And when I was in Mexico City, that's where I stopped over. I was already like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This feels like somehow so familiar and was super intrigued. So next day I flew out to La Paz on Baja California. The Baja California is where I'm right now. And literally, I stepped my right foot onto the ground, stepping out of the airplane, and there was a streak of energy going through my body, and it was just boom, exploding inside of me and saying, "You're home." And ever since that day, I have come back to Mexico every year at least once and explore that this is where I identify. And I truly believe that my soul is from here. So that's why I was led to be here. And somehow I was popped out in this body somewhere on the other side of the world to fulfill my purpose as a bridge builder or something like that. Yeah. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's Mexico in my life.
Oh, you're just giving me goosebumps. I love that. We all step off their plane when we're going on a holiday destination and the warmth hits us. It hits us in the face. But your experience was very different. It was something that's come through the earth into the body.
100%.
So explain, you said that you're a bridge builder and you've already dipped into the purpose. We're barely minutes into the show. So expand on what you mean by that.
Well, okay, I need to go a little bit back in time further than I've just explained. When I was a kid, I used to feel very different. I felt like I perceived myself different in a way of like, oh, I'm not like the others. It's more not that I thought I was different, but I would just notice I'm not like the others. I would perceive the world differently. I would look at things and find a different significance. So it was, my parents had their way of thinking. My culture had their way of thinking, and I always felt like, okay, there must be more to this. This is not enough. And then, just apart from all the stigma that you get, or the labels that I as a person who lives a queer life, a person who now feels transcultural, I've got put on all these labels, which did suffocate me in a way. And then I needed to pull them off and redefine them for myself. So I developed my own identity through understanding what I don't want to be, if that makes sense. So going into this and understanding, accepting, and embracing at one point that I'm not wrong. I'm not different. I'm just who I am, and I am my full power when I actually do embrace it. This is where it started to open up more, also to be tolerant towards other people, because before it was like, well, you are different, or I'm not like you, and you don't tolerate me, and I don't really know if I want to be like you, so I started to exclude people also. Yeah, that's a give and take. So when I started to allow myself to be fully me, this is where I started to open up doors to serve better. Before I might, invited people to have a look at things and perceive them differently. But now I opened up, and it's like, come as you are, and let's rather make some good in the world together and see what we can create. So to answer your question there, changing and developing into this perception makes me a natural bridge builder. However, with the work I do through my brand Different, which is all about being different in, like, I don't actually know how you say this in English. You need to help me out here. Like, you do this, like, it's not, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like, we are all different. We can embrace our difference. So as a coach, as a life coach, helping the minorities in the world to embrace that and to get empowered. That's one part. And then I started to do my self defense for my own personal reasons and developed a new brand, a new coaching system, a new training system, which is a holistic approach to self defense. And living in two different countries, bringing this in my backpack, understanding where in Mexico I can support people in the community with what I have to give, but also gaining the insights of their perception of the world, bringing that to Europe and the other way around. That makes me like a multiple bridge builder, I perceive. So,
I love it. Yeah. What I'm hearing here are two different types of vulnerable that you're dealing with. One is that you're allowing people to be vulnerable, and the other is that you are enabling them not to feel vulnerable to
yeah,
other things.
nice. Wow, spot on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, Amy, you got that eye.
Well,
Nice.
well, it's really interesting because you said you are looking at self-defense, and you said that was for personal reasons, and you can share those or not share those here. That's fine.
Hmm.
But in your backpack, it's a metaphor as well of what you have as in there, maybe some tools, maybe some resilience and elements there of how you're helping.
Yeah, I'm helping actually. So the way I say is I've discovered a new form of self-care. And for me as a woman, or in a female skin, let me put it that way, it was super important to understand that. So it's the ultimate way of self-care for me personally. And I try to share it in that perception. And it's not for everyone, but it does resonate a lot with women and those who identify as women. And well, there's a backstory to it. You said I can share it, so I'm not scared. I like to share it because we all need to talk about things that are uncomfortable to make others feel empowered and know they're not alone. So I had a childhood that was also involving a person overstepping my physical boundaries. So in other words, I experienced physical and emotional abuse when I was young, and as a teenager, I struggled a lot from these consequences. So I was very confused with myself, with my body. I didn't have a good body relationship, physical relationship. And I felt vulnerable, like what you just said, because someone overstepped my boundaries, and I had my body memory of it and my emotional confusion about what love is and what actually sexuality means. So so I had to end my, oh, I'm not like you thing. So it was like, I need to get this sorted. And that was a very vulnerable time for me. And when I started to actually think about self defense, that was in my early 20s. And I didn't do it. Let's just put it that way. Even though I was like, oh, I really should do this. I don't want this to happen to me ever again. I changed my spirit from a victim to a fighter. However, I didn't take the action to put these skills into my backpack, like you said, until 12 years later. One day I decided, just like, nah, I'm doing it now. So I just like we do, we Google, we find something, and then I was like, okay, I'm doing this in London. So I started Krav Maga in London, and that was my journey of self-defense. This is how I started. And when I started it, it changed my whole life. It really, really did. I remember that I was in a class and I was punching pads. So we were doing some exercises, and I could feel my emotional triggers coming. So I was like, always, there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of sadness in me, there was a lot of like determination to change the state. So when I hit these pads, all of a sudden my body had a response, and then I started to sigh, like, I made this big, big relieving sound, like you hear in yoga classes when we go like, ah, and my body was, I was doing that in the middle of a martial arts class. I was like, oh, my knees got, went to jelly, and I was just like, oh, what's happening here? And I continued practicing on the pads. But on the way to my home after class, I just realized that I wasn't practicing self-defense. I was practicing and cultivating self-care. I was saying yes to myself instead of saying no to someone else. I was like, yes, this is what I want to have. This is how I want to feel. And my body had literally waited decades to have these skills. So I sort of nurtured and nourished it, like, retrospectively. And this is what led me on the path to build beyond defense, the holistic approach of physical empowerment, emotional freedom, a flexible mindset, a powerful mindset, and spiritual quality to support women on their journey to become the most powerful self in this human body, connecting with their spiritual being. That's it.
Wow. That's not just it. That's huge. That's and you said you said you developed your own identity through what you don't want to do, but
Hmm.
here it was doing something that you finally wanted to do, which was to practice the martial arts, and the body was saying thank you. That's what I needed, and you recognized that. So actually saying yes to yourself instead of saying no to others. Where else have you done this?
Saying yes to myself instead of saying no to others. Well, like I said before, when you're going through the journey of identification, um, comparing oneself is really an unhealthy habit. And I am just being honest, I've not stripped it down completely. However, when I get out of focus, I go back onto who, like, what's my strength, instead of comparing myself with what others have achieved. It was like, what's my purpose, and why can only I fulfill this purpose? Because I have this story and no one else has your story. I have my own story. So saying yes to that again, instead of saying, oh no, I am not like someone else, it's like, oh yes, I am like me. And also saying my own path. So I have a family, a beautiful family. I have a wife, I have a daughter. And now you hear this every day, but it's been just recently that it is more common. You hear it from a woman saying, I have a wife and I have a kid. Now, I have that in my backpack still. I experience a lot of discrimination. However, do I want to say no to that baggage, or do I just want to say yes to everything that's, you know, coming, what's up for me to live? So that's that's how, I know it's all about around me saying yes. However, it determines my past. So I hope that answers your question too.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And talking about the purpose piece, and you said, what's my strength? What's my purpose? And you've got your
Hmm.
own story. Share what those are with us.
I'm a very strong, I'm a strong-willed person. And that's the thing that made me survive, I guess. So to say, that's where I still said no, where I said, no, you're not gonna get me, or whatever you put in on my path life or whatever. No, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna push through this. And this is a huge strength for achievements. Whereas we have to find, I learned that balance is a good gatekeeper. So if you have that mindset, it's also something, for me it was a game changer to understand, to sometimes just let go of things. So having the determination of achieving a goal doesn't always mean to push through, but also means to balance out what steps we have to take. However, one of my strengths is to focus on that goal and not lose the focus on the goal. And even if I just come back on track at one point, that's, I think, is one of the things. The other part is I'm visionary. So I'm a global thinker. So I actually have ADHD, and I think that's part of having ADHD for some people, for me at least. So that makes it hard sometimes to focus, but it actually is an amazing ability to see how things are interconnected. So it's like you can name me two things, and at the first look, you wouldn't think they have anything in common with each other. Well, I'd probably just pick up on what's the bridge between those two. So this is, and what's the network around it. So I love that as a skill. And that helps me to work with people a lot because I can read people better. I can understand and how do you say, connect the dots of their story, of their personality, of their vulnerabilities, of their strengths, and help them to explore for themselves where they can tap into more of their personal power. Yeah, those two. And I have a big heart. Well, yeah. Well,
Indeed, you do. And tell me the purpose piece.
the purpose. So my vision, I can tell you about my vision. That's what I identify as my purpose. So after all you've heard, you have got an idea of what I have in my backpack. So at one point when I got deeper into Beyond Defense and thinking about intergenerational and collective trauma, I thought, well, now I'm here and I've understood all these things and I have come this way to make a change. Now there is the visionary. Why not make a bigger change? So I thought, hey, if I help just one woman, one, to completely overcome the struggles and be in her full personal power, protect herself physically, emotionally, and help her to be so empowered that she would get out of trouble if she ever gets into trouble, then I've already started to create a new chain in her life if she'd ever have a child. If she was, or not even if she would have a child, actually every woman who stands up for herself changes the world because she's saying yes to herself and no to a predator. And the more we say, no, you're not going to do this with me, the learning effect, the ripple effect will go both ways. So my vision right now, and having a daughter has completely amplified this whole idea, is to reach out and make everything I've learned for self-protection, self-love, and self-growth accessible for, it's a big vision, every girl and kid in the world. And the way I am going to transform this, or I'm in the process of transforming this, is the key player is building an app. So I am about to launch an app, which is, it has, so the elements of the app have self-defense training, they have personal development training. However, they have a community, a tribe in there where people from all over the world can connect. And there is an educational part about the psychology of violence, domestic violence, helplines. It's like there are yoga classes, there are meditation things, mindful classes and practices. So it's a whole bunch of holistic development plus make, like shining the light of what we sometimes still don't see when we are not treated as we should be treated. I don't know if that makes sense, but like learning, oh man, this is emotional abuse that's happening to me right now, because loads of us still don't see that, because we were so brainwashed over centuries as women, that we like, or we just like play the game without wanting it. However, we cannot, we sort of like, we're like gaslighting is the whole thing. It's like we are blamed, or it's our fault, but it's not. It's also not our responsibility to change that, because it's a predator's responsibility. However, we have the chance to like enhance our own lives, and this is what the app is supposed to do. And we are going into cooperation with organizations all over the world that are helplines in like all continents, even um, to make it accessible for those who cannot afford like someone who's coming around and doing self-defense training. And apart from that, about domestic violence, this is something which is very tricky, because how can you access something when the predator lives in your house? So I'm building bit by bit something that will make it possible to come to every kid's home, because most of us have a mobile phone anyway somehow. But the idea is that it's not just me, it's the whole collective. So the app itself, once it's launched, is a collective vision for me. So every woman who's subscribing, or who's actually buying a program, will over time make the app cheaper. So I can cover the cost for building it. I can pay the people who work on it. I can, all the costs I have. But at one point, hopefully, and it's just going to take a few years, it's going to be free. It's free for every single child in the world or woman to download it, to have a secret version of it, and then hopefully it's going to change loads of lives. Yeah, that's my big vision.
That's an amazing vision, and what a ripple effect you're going to be creating there, because and you won't even know what you have done, because not everyone will reach out, but just knowing that you've given that resource for being accessible to everybody out there will be incredible. So yeah, what a vision, what a purpose, what a a wonderful thing to be doing. What if you'd had a happy, rosy childhood, Mia? Would this be happening?
I don't know. How could I know? It's not on me to say. However, I'm very grateful for everything that I collected on my path. And yeah, something I'd really say, oh man, really, I wish I, like, but would I change it? If I knew I wouldn't be here on this point doing this, I probably would say, well, let me go through it. I survived. I've come here. I've got these gifts. I want to share them. I know I can help. So yeah.
A beautiful gift. And I know the what if question is a, a crazy question, because you just don't know. It's one of
No.
those things. But what I'm trying to say is that the severity of a trauma in life often shapes our and creates our destiny, and helps us to find purpose, find meaning in life by resolving issues for others.
Yep. 100%. I agree.
So knowing that you have got this plan and you've got the purpose and the focus is definitely there for you, what does tomorrow look like?
Oh, that's a very lovely question. Well, tomorrow is for me like today. I'm not going to change who I am. I will still follow my purpose. However, it might be something that changes me internally. Just focusing on me for a second, it would be very fulfilling. I walk around very differently in this world, knowing I have not wasted my potential. And that's really what I hate, wasted potential. And um, I know I would, I'm knowing that I have provided also for my daughter a life that feels to me more safe, or safer and different to that I had, that she can in a different way continue just by being herself. The legacy of what my life had as an impact is something that's extremely fulfilling. And tomorrow is also the Pacific Ocean, and walking there with my dogs, my wife, and my kid, and just enjoying and being and not thinking about doing all the time. So it would, if everything goes the way I hope it will go, it will also make my life a bit easier. So that's really being honest. However, tomorrow is not going to change, because even if I become a multimillionaire, I'm not going to change my purpose and my heart. It's just, going to be delivered in a different way. I could travel more and go to these countries and actually deliver workshops. That's something I allow myself to dream of every now and again. So, yeah.
Do you feel that you may experience that boom moment in another country?
The boom moment for me?
For when you said you stepped off the plane and you said, boom,
okay.
there's my soul is here. Do you feel your soul could be in other countries in the same way it is in Mexico?
Ooh, this is interesting. I get goosebumps, so I would say there's some truth in it. Because when I get goosebumps, there's truth. So that would be lovely to understand. That would be lovely to experience. So thanks for giving me that. I can't answer it, but the goosebumps answer it somehow. So
yeah, so there we go. You've got to explore the goosebumps for sure. So who knows where else your soul is parked, ready for you to connect with it, and in other places. And that's a fabulous way to sort of leave it there, in terms of we've explored so much in such a short time, Mia. It's been delightful hearing what you have planned. It just sounds incredible. How would people get in touch with you? How would they hear about the app when it goes live?
okay, so it's possible right now to subscribe to, or not to sign up for the app that's on the web. So you'd go to beyonddefense.passion.io. That's where you can sign up for free. Just set up your account, and once it gets into the stores, you're already in. So you don't have to wait actually until it's in stores, in app stores, I mean. However, we have beyonddefense.net, which is our website, where you can have a look around, and you can connect on Instagram at Beyond Defense. You can also go on LinkedIn, Mia Von Loga, and you can write me an email personally. I'll just share it, mia@beyonddefense.net. So I'm always happy to receive emails from people who want to know more. So yeah, that's how you can get in touch.
Oh, amazing. Well, they'll all go in the show notes. And so everybody who wants to connect with you can do that, and they can sign up for the app ready for it to go live. Mia, I have to go, because seeing that sea behind you is just too much. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm off on holiday next week anyway, so it's all good. But off to the skiing world, as opposed to
opposite. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No warmth there. So, but thank you so much for sharing why you do what you do. It has been a pleasure, and there definitely will be people. You said if you could just help one woman overcome the struggles and protect themselves both physically and emotionally, I'm sure just hearing what you have to say here will trigger something inside them to stand up in the world, and to feel that they are going to be heard. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for giving me the opportunity to share my vision and skills. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. How would you like to leave the audience today? What would you like to say to them?
I would like to say to you, whenever you doubt that you need to be empowered, you don't. Because all you are is already powerful. You have all the power within you. And sometimes the only thing you need is to be reminded of that, and to get some tools and a framework to access that personal power a little bit better. But my main take for you, please know you're worthy and you're powerful, and there is no other way than being you, because that's why you are you here in this world.
Thank you for listening to Focus on Why with me, Amy Rowlandson. To show your appreciation and to help other listeners understand what value you have received from tuning in today, please leave me an Apple Podcast 5-star review. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. To keep it going, connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, or join the inspiring, uplifting and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. All the links are in the show notes. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.